And I'm heading out for my first walk and talk of the day. Here I go. And I guess I'm going this way. So I was trying to determine, good morning, what to talk about for this walk and talk. That was one of them out there. Very interesting. But I was thinking about things that might be helpful because the things I have going on in my life right now kind of distract me in a not what nice way. I have to worry about my email that I'm going to word so that I don't hurt anybody to management from what I found out yesterday. But yeah, my thought was about a story from when I was hiking the Appalachian Trail. Uh, it, it was really cold when we first left, and it actually got down to like 22 degrees a couple of times, and here we are sleeping outside, all not used to it. Of course, I'm taking the side roads because it's too noisy over here. But sometimes it was really hard to stay warm. And I saw a video the other day about how people want to bug out and they won't be able to handle it out there and they should try it for a week. And I was out there for 8 months taking my time. But I think back to things my great grandma taught me and stories that she told and things like that. And that's kind of what drove this story to come into existence. But you remember back in the old days, and they'd have these things that they would heat up, a pan they would heat up, and we had rocks in it. They'd put it on the fire, and then they'd put it under the bed and warm the beds up, right? I'm not exactly sure how it goes anymore. I'm getting old. But while we were out there, and it was so cold, and we were huddling around a fire, and the wind was coming up the side of the mountain, and it was so windy you could hear it as it was coming up. It was whoosh, until it hit us. And we were sitting there and had a little tiny fire, and we all just kept huddling closer. We were sitting on rocks, huddling closer and closer to the fire, and we were all freezing. And we were talking, and my son's like, "Mom, your boots are on fire. Mom, your boots are on fire." And I was talking, I didn't hear him. He's like, "Mom, your boots are on fire." And I pulled my feet back because I kept getting closer and closer. I pulled back, and my boots are on fire. But I melted them back together because they were so hot. And that all worked fine for another 100 miles or so till I had to replace my boots from all the water and walking. But yeah, it was so cold that night, and I didn't know how we were going to all sleep in our sleeping bags and stay warm because we were at a place where ice, where there was no shelter. And so the thing was, I said to everybody, go around, find yourself a big rock, nice big smooth rock, and get yourself a t-shirt. So they did. They don't know what I'm talking about. They said, maybe this will help you keep warm at night because rock will hold heat. So we put our big rocks up next to the fire, and when it was time for us all to go lay down and go to sleep, I said, okay, now take your t-shirt and wrap it around the rock and take it and put it under your sleeping bag by your feet because your feet always get so cold you can't sleep at night. And so everybody did that. It rained, it poured, it was freezing, and it snowed that night. The wind was whipping, and everybody was really happy that we had done that because it did help, and I can vouch for that. So anyways, there was another night not long after that that was really, really cold. And we were at a shelter. So we put up a tarp that we had at the opening because it was a 3-sided shelter. We put up a tarp along the opening and tied it up and blocked off the wind and took a bunch of rocks and put them in the fire. And then after that, we heated them all up and then put them all between us in the shelter and kept everybody warm that night that way with the rocks from the fire. And we did like several of them down in a line between each one of us. And it actually warmed the air a little bit in the place. But boy, you find yourself rolling over and snuggling up next to a pile of rocks. That's what I used to joke about. Oh, it's time to drink water. I had my water just before I left. But I used to, I don't know, think about the stuff that my great-grandmother told me. And it made a lot of sense in times where you didn't have these times during the hard times and the Depression. They were things that were really actually priceless to learn that I found later as I used them. My goodness. Yeah, she was the sweetest lady ever. She'd wash my hands when I was little, and she had the softest hands in the world, and she'd say things like, "Let me wash your little patties." She was Irish. She'd say, "Oh, bless your little heart," and little heartwarming things that were just nice memories. Hold you in her lap and rock you in her rocking chair, and that just, I don't know, it was like very comforting. It was my little heaven when I was little. She was like the sweetest lady I ever knew. Never heard a fly. So I spent a lot of time with her. Oh, somebody's online. Yeah, I had to figure out with this new phone that I already cracked in the cold, I had to figure out how to use it and get the pictures and videos off of it and onto the SD card, and deleted a bunch of stuff. And because I was going up and down the stairs last night, and it came to a point where it says that it was full and it wouldn't film anymore. So that's what I did. I'm not going to film my whole walk over, down, and back because I don't want to get stuck somewhere again like that with technical difficulties. Experiencing them out in the cold. It's 18 degrees right now, which is warmed up since last night, but it's definitely going to be warmer today. I think it's going to go all the way up to 35, which lately seems to feel like a heat wave. It's funny because I listened to everybody wham all summer about the heat, and I was like, yeah, this is nice, and I miss the heat. And then come winter, I bet you they're all out there going wham the cold. Can't keep some people happy. I absolutely love that. That tree with all the pine cones is so pretty. It held on to a lot of its pine cones. I don't know what it is. It's fascinating. I guess I'll go over to this side of the street when I get up here. It's going to get noisy when I get up here. So, depending on how noisy it gets, will be how cold it is. Yeah, we were out there. I forget where we were. I don't remember. Could have been Vermont or lower. But I met this man. His trail name was Sundance. He was from New Mexico. And he was sending back letters every day about his hiking, like a journal in a way. And what he did was, whoever was receiving them, I think it was someone in his family or a friend, was taking those. He was an older gentleman. but they were taking his letters like a journal, and they were posting them in the little local newspaper in the little town. I don't know if it was Sunrise or something, but dang, that must be the airport. But they were posting his letters when he'd send them every week. So then he started taking pictures and sending them back with him and on CDs, and which was really interesting. So here I am from New York and Maine, and I pull out stuff for us to eat, and I had brought tortillas because they last a long time. They don't spoil easy. They're flat and they carry with less space. And I pull those, make a fire, pull those out, and start to warm them up. And I had powdered refried beans. And so I took that and I reconstituted that while I'm flipping our tortillas. And he says, "Can I take a picture?" And I says, "Why?" He says, "Well, I just want to send it back to New Mexico." And then he told me the story about his letters and the newspaper. So somewhere out there in New Mexico, there was a picture of my son and I at the campfire, and we were heating up tortillas on a fire on a rock. And yeah, it was rather interesting. I thought that was kind of cool. I always wished I could have gotten a copy of that newspaper. But one time I drove out through New Mexico to go to Arizona, and years later, and that's another story in itself. I went out to get my ex-husband because my daughter wanted to meet him, his daughter. And I couldn't find him for like 20-some years. But I found him, and I went out there and got him and paid for him to go up to Maine. But anyway, yeah, I drove through this place, and I think it was called Sunrise or something in New Mexico. I can't remember, but a nice place. And I'm driving down the street, and so funny because every person that I drove past smiled and waved, and I thought, oh my God, I would absolutely love to live here. It's pretty wild. Yeah, if I think my journal got lost, my kids were kind of irresponsible with my stuff because it wasn't theirs, and it disappeared. But there's not much I can do about that. A lot of my memories went with it, which was kind of sad because I wrote everything every night when we stopped to sleep. I put on my little headlamp and huddle where I wouldn't bother anybody, and I'd sit and write. And that was how I ended my evenings hiking. And it was very satisfying. It was funny because there was 4 of us to start with, and one dropped off before the end of Maine, and he'd never been out of Maine. He got to the end of Maine, that's right. But then it was kind of cool because we'd stop and nobody'd say anything, but we'd do a different job every night. There was a job of gathering firewood. There was a job of finding a water source and filtering the water and carrying it back. And there was a job of preparing the fire and the meal.